Hey, aloha everyone. So it's been about 5 months since the big Lahaina fire, and this week actually marks a major milestone in our recovery process. This is the week that we started phase 2 of the cleanup process, which is where we actually start to remove and relocate the actual ash and debris from the fire. So I figured today would be a good day to get the drone up in the air and just see what kind of progress they've made so far. Let's go take a look. This video is going to be a complete aerial tour of the Lahaina burn zone. And we're going to start at the southernmost point that was affected by the fire in a community called Puamana. Just like my last aerial tour of Lahaina, it does take several drone flights stitched together in order to cover the entire area that was impacted by the fire. If there's a particular neighborhood or condo community that you're interested in yourself and you want to jump right to that portion of the video, check out the description down below because I will provide timestamps for different locations. That being said, I will share interesting updates to all the different locations that we fly through, as well as pointing out the areas that I see the cleanup process has begun. So watch the entire video if you want to be fully informed on what is happening on the ground in Lahaina. As you can see, we're just now entering the area of Puamana that was heaviest hit by the fire. We have received a ton of rain on Maui over the last couple weeks, and one of the things that I wanted to observe for myself was if there's any visual evidence of runoff from that rain into the ocean. And as we start to fly over Front Street here and get a little bit closer to the ocean, you can see that the water is a little more brown than usual and certainly has received some of the runoff. How much of the runoff actually consists of toxic ash and debris from the fire is still yet to be determined. There is a group of scientists that rushed into the water to start collecting samples. Results of testing those samples won't be known for quite some time, but experts do say that the precipitation undoubtedly washed some amount of the fire residue into the ocean either directly from the surface or from underground sources. Take a look at the right-hand side of your screen and you'll see a yellow excavator and several trucks that are loading the ash and debris. This is the first evidence that I've seen of the cleanup beginning. Now keep in mind this is just the first week of phase 2 of the cleanup process, and it will take some time to ramp up the project. But as we pass Lahaina Shores here on the left, you can see more heavy equipment being staged in the parking lot below. According to the Army Corps of Engineers, their goal is to clear at least 100 properties over the next 30 days. Now we're coming up on Lahaina Harbor and the wharf area, and you will see another yellow excavator to the right of the screen now. We're going to start a new drone flight here and continue to head north following along Front Street. But before we get to Front Street, we're going to cross right over the top of the world-famous Banyan Tree. If you watched my last video, you know that the Banyan Tree does appear to have survived the big fire. And I anticipate that as we continue to fly over, we'll see more and more green leaves as it recovers. Now bring your attention to the far left-hand side of the screen in the water, and you'll see that there is a sailboat that has run aground right next to Front Street. We're actually going to see another sailboat just a little bit farther north that also run aground right next to Front Street sometime in the last 6 weeks. Now we're coming up on the intersection of Front Street and Lahaina Luna Street, and as we're crossing over, I just want to mention real quick that later on in the video, I have a drone flight that starts at the bottom of Lahaina Luna Road and travels all the way up into the Lahaina Luna neighborhood, almost all the way to the bypass. I mention it just because my last video had a ton of comments requesting to see that particular neighborhood. Let me know in the comment section below if there's any particular areas in Lahaina that you'd like me to focus on in my next video. We're now passing over what was once the Lahaina Outlet Mall, and on the left-hand side of the screen you'll see the second sailboat that I had mentioned previously. We're now coming up on the Channel House condominiums, as well as the Seamen's Hospital Museum and Lahaina residential condominiums. Another huge milestone that was announced just a couple days ago is that the Department of Water Supply has amended the unsafe water advisory for this portion of Lahaina, which means that the water has been tested and deemed safe for unrestricted use, including drinking water. The county does provide an interactive map that shows where the water advisories are still in effect. I'll share a link to that interactive map in the description down below in case you're curious to see what areas of Lahaina now have safe drinking water. But as of January 19th, Kahoma Village and a lot of the Baby Beach neighborhood is now deemed safe drinking water. To the right of the screen, we're just finishing passing the Kahoma Village neighborhood and about to cross over the Kahoma stream. On the other side of the stream is the old Lahaina Luau on the ocean side of Front Street, and on the mountain side of Front Street is the Lahaina Cannery Mall, which has Safeway and Long's Drugs. Safeway has been open for quite some time now, and I've heard that Mala Restaurant, which we're about to fly over right now, is set to open sometime in February. We're going to continue heading north along Front Street until we reach the intersection of Front Street and the Hono'opilani Highway. The condominium building on the ocean that is still standing, that's Lahaina Roads, and we're almost to the end of Front Street. The neighborhood that is on the mountainside of the highway is Wahikuli neighborhood. In the middle right-hand side of the screen on the mountain side of the highway, you'll see a brown lot that appears to have already completed the cleanup process in the Wahikuli neighborhood. So we're going to start a new flight here on the other side of the highway, and let's fly through Wahikuli and see how much evidence of progress we can see in this part of Lahaina town. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has set two separate criteria for determining the order in which lots get cleaned up. The first criteria is they want to clean up the properties that are near houses that are still standing. With Maui's housing crisis still fully in effect, it's important that we clean up the areas where there's still homes so that people can safely move back into the homes that survived the fire. The second criteria that they're taking into consideration is the potential for runoff into the ocean. So they want to clean up the properties that are closest to the ocean first so that it minimizes the amount of runoff potential that can occur. Now we're heading south over the Wahikuli neighborhood. This time we're going to take a path that's a little bit farther up the mountainside. As you can see, there are a number of homes in this neighborhood that did survive the fire, so it does make sense that they are putting a lot of focus on cleaning up the lots in this area first. I'm going to jump to a clip that it focuses on one of the lots that is currently in the cleanup process. As you can see, there's a couple yellow excavators that are working on these lots, and they're loading a red truck with a few other trucks that are waiting in queue for when this one's full. You also notice that there are a couple people in what appear to be white hazmat suits that are spraying down the area to make sure that the dust does not get into the air. Let's continue our path heading south. By the way, if you appreciate the time and energy it takes to put these videos together, please hit the like button and consider sharing this video with anyone you know that also would appreciate fact-based updates to the Lahaina recovery process after the big fire. We're headed towards the Lahaina Gateway Center, which has Ross and Ace Hardware as well as Foodland Farms. And on the left-hand side of the screen right now is a new housing project that was actually started before the fire. In a second here, I'm going to twist the drone to take a look up the hill and see exactly how far along they are with that project. Okay, starting a new flight here on the ocean side of the highway this time, and flying over the Safeway parking lot. Look at how many cars there are. Obviously, Safeway is open for business, and it looks like it's pretty busy. In the middle of the screen, you'll see another construction project. This is a commercial project as far as I know. I believe it's a Bank of Hawaii and a few places to eat that are being built. And I believe the project was planned well before the fire. But if there's anybody out there that has some inside knowledge of exactly what this project is, please share that information in the comments section. Now flying over the Kahoma Stream back into my neighborhood, Kahoma Village, and we're going to fly right over the top of the townhome buildings that were lost in the neighborhood. As I had mentioned earlier in the video, I received a lot of requests from viewers that wanted to take a closer look at the neighborhoods that were more up the mountain. In my last video, I didn't capture a whole lot of the Lahaina Luna neighborhood, so in this flight, we're going to start at the corner of Front Street and Lahaina Luna, right next to the coast, and we're going to work our way up the mountainside. We're flying directly towards one of Lahaina's most recognizable landmarks, which is the old Pioneer Mill smokestack. So this is Lahaina Luna neighborhood, and it really is one of Maui's oldest neighborhoods. It seems the fire had the biggest impact wherever the buildings were the oldest. And unfortunately, this neighborhood was comprised of mostly older homes, and it was completely destroyed by the fire. In the center of the screen now, we're coming up on another property that has begun the cleanup process. We're about to fly right over the top of another yellow excavator, along with a truck waiting to be loaded. So this is pretty close to the highest point the fire reached in this neighborhood, so we're going to spin the drone around and fly back down the hill. This time we're going to take a little bit of a different path, and we'll also fly right over the top of the newer Kahoma Homes neighborhood, which we're entering right now, and eventually we'll reach the Opukea condominium complex. On the right side of the screen is the Kahoma Stream, and on the other side of the stream is the Emerald Plaza commercial area. So we're now approaching the Opukea at Lahaina condominium complex. I actually lived in this community myself for several years before we moved across the street into Kahoma Village. As you can see, about half the buildings in the community did burn down, and the other half are still standing. Of course, on the other side of the highway, we're returning to Kahoma Village. The little park area in the center of Kahoma Village that looks like a lake is actually a planned retention basin, and it does tend to fill up when we receive a lot of rain like we did over the last couple weeks. So we're going to continue our path heading south over Lahaina town, and this time we're going to stay a little more inland as we follow the highway. The two-story concrete structure that we're about to fly over now is the parking garage at the outlets of Maui. We're now coming up on the intersection of Waine'e and Papalau Street, and about to fly over the parking lot for the old Lahaina Center, which held Foodland grocery store. Now coming up on the intersection of Waine'e and Lahaina Luna Road, and you'll see a police cruiser heading up Lahaina Luna Road patrolling the area. The parking lot with the solar panels on the left side of the screen is the Spinnaker condominium complex. Now we're coming up on the intersection of Dickinson Street and Waine'e, and you can see that we are about to fly over some more heavy equipment. On the left-hand side of the screen is the Aina Nalu condominium complex, which unfortunately was completely destroyed in the fire. Now we're coming up on the intersection of Prison Street and Waine'e Street. The property in the center of the screen with the high walls is the old Lahaina Prison historical landmark. Now we're coming up on Shaw Street and about to fly into the Shark Pit neighborhood. On the right-hand side of the screen, you see the yellow excavator that is working on one of the lots. That's actually the first yellow excavator that we noticed as we were flying north along Front Street. In the center of the screen, we'll see another property that has a yellow excavator that is working on cleanup. So throughout the video, I noticed 5 different properties that were actively in the cleanup process. and they're all spread in different areas of Lahaina town. I also saw at least 2 properties that appeared to have already completed the cleanup. Now, that being said, identifying evidence of cleanup in an area that's spread so large is kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. So if you noticed anything that I missed, feel free to write it in the comment section below. And it's my hope that the next time I do an aerial tour like this, we'll see a whole lot more progress with the cleanup. So we're coming up on the intersection of Front Street and the Honoapi'ilani Highway, which is right around the area where we started the video. I do have one more quick video clip of Lahaina I'd like to show you, and that's of my favorite place on the planet, which is Baby Beach. We started off looking north towards Kaanapali, now spinning towards the south and into Lahaina town. Even with all the devastation, it still looks absolutely gorgeous. So that's it for the aerial tour of Lahaina as we begin phase 2 of our cleanup after the fire. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until we see you on the next video, aloha.